guys are behind on your billing.
B Kids Quest, but then B some.
Or maybe we didn't pay it. Okay, so even if we have the land and it is irrigable,
If it's irritable, it's assessed a water service charge.
You got our off from
File a protest, like if you're developing it or portions of it are no longer irrigable, you can apply for a protest to have that charge reduced, pro rata, but
see that name.
maybe there's a concept for that. It's not a.
oh,
What are the tracks? Are these the Rio Bravo?
I have no idea where they're at.
Right there. Just added. Extended. Even the name of the. You see, too busy. Catherine Brook, I got her. Look at it. There's a mud house. Crowd your space a little fast. You like so much stuff.
But previously, yeah, and
Mr. Vice Chair, I think we're ready to get started when you are. We're gonna do a roll call vote, see if we maybe have one more for quorum.
Okay, all right, great. And my apologies for not being there in person, but I have another Zoom meeting immediately after this one. So figured I'd just zoom in this time. Would you like to go ahead and call the roll, Bianca?
Yes, Mr. Vice Chair. I'll start with Valencia County, Troy Richardson or Joseph Bizzle. City of Belen, Stephen Tomita or Oscar Diaz. City of Albuquerque, anybody? Town of Bernalillo, Jack Torres.
Here.
Village of Los Lunas, Aaron Callahan. Anyone else for the Village of Los Lunas? Village of Corrales, Stuart Murray.
Here.
Village of Jemez Springs, anyone? Village of Tijeras, anybody? Village of Cuba, anyone? Village of Bosque Farms, Michael Limon or Shailene Lopez? Village of Encino, anybody? MRGCD, Jason Kasuga or Casey Ish?
Present.
Thank you. Amafka, Bruce Thompson?
Bruce Thompson's here.
Thank you. Village of Los Ranchos, anybody? Bernalillo County, Eric Olivas, Dan McGregor, or Corbin Carcered. Village of San Isidro, anybody? City of Rio Rancho, Jim Chasen, Steve Gallegos, or Naomi Herrera. Sandoval County, Catherine Brecht,
I'm here.
Skavka, Dave Gatterman, Val Marquez, Albuquerque Bernalillo County Water Authority, Mark Kelly.
Present.
Thank you. City of Moriarty, anyone? Sterling Donor, I'm sorry, Town of Edgewood, Sterling Donor, or Jerry Powers? Torrance County, anyone? Town of Estancia, I'm sorry, Ronnie Reynolds. Quidad Soil and Water, Steve Glass.
Present.
Coronado Soil and Water, Lynn Montgomery.
He's showing online, but I think he stepped away.
EMWT, Bobby Ortiz. Valencia Soil and Water, Johnny Chavez. Central Tri-County Soil and Water Conservation District, Juan Sanchez.
Present.
Thank you. City of Rio Communities, Art Apodaca.
Present.
Thank you. Did I miss anyone? Thank you, Mr. Chair. You may continue.
Thank you, Kelly. I believe that was Kelly doing that. So I will entertain a motion at this moment for approval of our agenda as earlier circulated.
I move to approve the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. Got a second?
Second, Catherine Brock.
Thank you, Catherine. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any abstentions or opposition, please state as such. Hearing none, we have unanimous approval of the agenda. Moving to the action summary. I could not find the action summary for May 7th for some reason, either attached to an agenda or on the website. So, Bianca, did I somehow miss an email, or I don't have that action summary?
Mr. Vice Chair, it may not have gone out. Now that I think about it.
Okay.
Hopefully we could roll that over to the next meeting.
All right. I will entertain then a motion to table tab 2 at this moment.
Move to table tab 2.
Thank you, Councilor Murray.
Second, Commissioner Brock.
Thank you, Commissioner Brutch. All in favor of tabling tab 2, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, we've tabled that item. We now move to public comments on tab 3. Did anyone register for public comment?
No one has signed up for public comment. I have some questions from member Wesley, which we'll address with the presentation from ABCWUA.
Okay, great. Tab 4, any questions or comments from board members at this time? Well, I will address a couple of issues that we should be paying attention to, which is the flooding events that we've experienced across the nation, and especially within our district. We had a massive flood event and the Tijeras Creek on the 12th of July, and it did some severe damage to some structures, a project that we were in the midst of with Bernalillo County to try to reestablish the floodplain of the Tijeras between Los Vecinos Community Center and the schools. It also damaged the city Tijeras Biozone Education Center inclusive trail. So it's an issue clearly that we will see more and more of as the effects of climate change take over or become more evident, and we're going to see larger, more intense rainstorms. And so I just wanted to make you all aware that we did have that event, and we're likely to see similar events coming in the future, as we saw in Ruidoso, as we saw in Kern County, and all across the nation. So that is an issue for water resource managers, and so I thought I would just alert you all to that occurrence. Any other board questions or comments? Well then, hearing none, we'll move to our first presentation from Mr. Kelly with the Water Utility Authority, addressing water conservation at ABCWUA. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Mark.
Thanks, Steve. I'm getting a message saying host disabled participant screen sharing. I have a presentation, PowerPoint.
You should be co-hosting now, Mark.
All
You
right.
give him permission?
Yes.
Yeah, I just got it.
It's not.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. So I was asked by Bianca to talk about water conservation at the Albuquerque-Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority. And I'm also joined today by our Water Conservation Program Manager, Amos Arbor, who's in here with me to answer the tough questions as they come out. But I appreciate the opportunity to talk to the MRCOG Water Resources Board about it, because I think it's a good story to tell. And when we talk about the Water Authority, we have over 200,000 customer accounts. We serve about 670,000 people, and we got about 650 employees. We have drinking water that we provide. We also treat the wastewater before it goes back into the Rio Grande, and then we also reuse part of our wastewater on turf throughout the city. When we look at where we've been in terms of the Water Authority and previous to the Water Authority, the city of Albuquerque, we used to have a very high usage rate for water. In the 90s, we had gallons per capita per day at around 250. And just last year, we were at 125. And it's through the efforts of our ratepayers that we have cut our per person water use by half since then, which I think is a great accomplishment. And when you look at our overall water demand, you can see here that it's been hovering at around 100,000 acre feet per year. And that's made up of groundwater and surface water, as well as reuse. The Water Authority has a water resources management strategy called Water 2120. It's a 100-year plan to provide water for our customers going into the future. And conservation is a huge part of it. Water 2120 plans for a change. We looked at different supply and demand possibilities, things from a great for us where there would be low demand and high supply to things that it would be difficult for us where there is high demand and low supply. So we're planning for change, and that change also includes climate change. So Water 2120 included the best available science for climate change. And we realized that we are going to get less surface water into the future. And we're going to have things that are a little bit different about that, with earlier runoff peaks happening in the year. Some of the key outcomes of Water 2120 were to conserve the water that we have, and Amos works really hard with his staff on that every day. Manage our groundwater resources, store our excess water through aquifer storage and recovery, and then also diversify our water sources. When we look at currently where we're at, I was talking about in 1994, where we're at 250 last year, 2024 being at 125 gallons per capita per day. These are all on our eventual route towards our Water 2120 established goal of 110 GPCD by 2037. We had an interim goal or a previous goal of 135 by 2024, which we managed to make. When we think about our conservation program, we really think about it in three parts. We've got education, incentives, and enforcement. One of the things that we work really hard on is to educate our customers about the value of water and about making sure that they're using water in a smart way. In doing that, we have a really cool website and newsletter called 505 Outside, which I encourage everyone to go to and sign up for to get it in your inbox. You can get a lot of really cool irrigation tips, plant guides, and things like that. And also it really explains all of our incentives well. And incentives is our second part. We provide rebates. We're really focusing on outdoor water conservation. And we do audits and offer conservation kits as well. And then we have our enforcement part, which is enforcing the water waste reduction ordinance and trying to get folks to learn about the proper way and make sure that they are not, for instance, watering the sidewalk or watering the street or letting water go in there, and also that they are watering during the most efficient times of the day, which is the early morning and night. A little bit more about our conservation education. We offer community classes, especially during times of drought, which I'll get into a little bit later. We work with our large users and provide them with reports about their water usage, but also leak management. And so we have our biggest users are with the city of Albuquerque and APS, Bernalillo County, and we provide them with leak reports and leak audits. And we also have a email and a phone line that folks can call called Ask an Expert, where if anyone has questions about water use, they can call us up and we will have somebody talk to them and if needed, go out and meet with them on site. Another really cool thing that we do is called the Water Smart Academy, and that provides training to professional landscapers that they can use towards their accreditations to be able to learn about xeric practices and also industry best practices for saving water. Some of our community classes include, plant selection and tree care, things on how to ensure that your trees are healthy with pruning, and then also trying to teach everyone about our proper irrigation service and settings. This is a little bit more about the Water Smart Academy and how it teaches the classes and teaches landscape professionals and can be used towards their accreditations. We also have a really cool irrigation efficiency guide that's available on our website that our customers can look at if they're thinking about installing a new landscape or thinking about transforming their current landscape. It'll give them a lot of great ideas for examples of what plants to use, how to set up their drip system, and some really cool things. We also will have folks that come out and do field visits to do efficient irrigation consultations with our customers, where customers can see where they're losing water, where it's going to waste, and provide some tips on how to utilize water in the most efficient way possible. We also provide leak phone consultations, and we work with New Mexico Gas Company to provide conservation tips. And these are the lists of the people that are the entities that we work hand in hand with on leak reports and audits. And I talked a little bit about, our conservation rebates. Our best bang for the buck rebate is our xeriscape rebates. And this is where we will provide $3 per square foot of grass removed to be replaced with a desert-friendly landscape. We've done over 12 million square feet of removal in the past, but this is also something that we're trying to work with in the future. It recently got bumped up to $3 a square foot from $2 a square foot. And if any of you are thinking about this for your own yard and you're a water authority customer and you want the rebate, the biggest issue we find with this rebate is that folks need to call us and set up an appointment or email us and set up an appointment to have the site inspected before the grass gets ripped out, so that we can ensure that the amount of turf is appropriate for giving the rebate. And that's to ensure that our customers, rebate money is being used in the most wise method. We also have a customized performance rebate that places like schools or apartment complex can do a customized rebate where we'll give $10 per unit of water, and we'll look at what their usage was before they installed the project and what their usage was after, and then we'll provide a customized rebate to them for that. And when we talk about enforcement, we have our water waste reduction ordinance, but we really don't utilize this as a money-making endeavor. Everyone actually gets at least one warning before any violation is issued. All right, and we encourage folks to get a warning, to meet with us and to get a consultation to figure out what's going wrong, and we provide resources for them on how to fix it. One of the big endeavors in terms of things that we're going to be working on going into the future is to remove non-functional turf. These are areas that are very difficult to water and not very efficient due to the slope or being very skinny little areas. We've done a spatial analysis to figure out how much non-functional turf we have out there. This is also turf that is only being used for decorative purposes. Usually the only people that are walking on these types of turf are the people that are mowing the turf. How much did we find? 25 million square feet. We found in our spatial analysis that there's about 25 million square feet of turf out there. We've pledged to try and remove 30% of that. I hesitate to say this, but I did notice some on the way into this very building that there is some non-functional turf out there. So we'd like to work with MRCOG to get that removed, and people can help us out by removing it using our $3 per square foot rebate. The Water Authority has a drought management plan. This dictates during dry times what steps the Water Authority can do and our customers can do to save water. And I'll talk a little bit about where we are with that right now in terms of our drought management plan. So every month I give a supply metric snapshot to the Water Authority Board about the drought map from the federal government and how much groundwater we're pumping and how much we're pumping versus our goals, and also what our rolling annual average GPCD is. And our drought plan takes three of these things into consideration. The first level of the drought plan looks at the drought severity and coverage index. That's the map on the left in Bernalillo County. And if that DSCI is over 300, we move into our first drought stage. The subsequent drought stages are based on how our groundwater pumping is looking versus our goals, and how our GPCD is versus our goals. So the DSCI, I pulled this out yesterday, and right now in Bernalillo County, the DSCI is at 360, which is over our limit of 300. So we have our first stage of drought, which is called drought advisory. And you can see here the matrix of where we get into different drought stages based on the DSCI, as well as based on the where the GPCD is located and how we're doing on our groundwater pumping. In terms of temperature and precipitation, this year has been pretty hot, especially in the springtime. And then, we had a lot of slow and no precipitation until about mid-April. And then things have started to almost catch up to a normal amount of precipitation here in Albuquerque. In terms of the temperature outlook, it's looking to be an above average chance that things are going to be hotter than normal in the next 3 months. And also for precipitation, we have about an equal chance that things are going to be normal precipitation expected in the next 3 months. When we look at the overall drought outlook for the entire country and specifically New Mexico, this has just changed in the last month or so, but it looks like for most of specifically southern New Mexico, the drought remains but improves. Our little sliver area shows drought persisting, but that used to have all of New Mexico really in the dark brown, which I guess is a little bit of an improvement. As a part of the drought advisory, where we're at when our DSCI gets over 300, we have upped our public outreach as called for by our drought plan. You can see on these graphs usually where we are at in an average year in terms of public outreach and talking to our customers about saving water, and we've really upped it by 24%. And those are things like advertising on different platforms, but also we've started doing drought classes, which our customers can attend and get a $20 rebate, where Amos and his staff will help them out with conservation tips. And we've seen a lot of excitement and usage from that. And we've had about 13,000 people go and look into the drought rebate classes. About 10% of that registered for a class. We've got new newsletter signups, which are looking really good. And Amos has done some really cool things about not just his staff teaching these classes, which they're very good at, but bringing in local experts to talk about best management practice and ways to to save water. And I think that's part of the reason is people, I think, are excited to see some of these local experts and learn from them. The governor issued an executive order on drought in late May. And in response to that, the Water Authority put out a drought update in the Father's Day edition in June 15th of the Albuquerque Journal. It was a Sunday journal that talked about where we are in the drought and what folks can do. And then we've really been doing an increase in targeted letters to commercial customers that are using a lot of water, that have been doing that for quite a while. And so we also do that with residential water users that we call it our top 10% letters, that if you are among the top 10% in your zip code in terms of water use, we will send you a letter saying, hey, did you know you're in the top 10%? And maybe you should try to get out of the top 10%. And please let us help you get there. We've also, been upping our advertising. We've got trying to blow the whistle on water waste campaign, but also, reminding folks about no sprinklers during the hottest part of the day. And that's a bigger zoom in on what went out in the paper. And we work with our friends as well from the Fish and Wildlife Service, like Casey's group, the Middle Rio Grande Conservancy District, Bureau of Reclamation, to come out with a press release about the impending dry conditions. The river is dry through Albuquerque right now as we speak. And also we had an insert in our June bill that talked about what folks can do, and that the drought is occurring and they should try to conserve water. So that kind of sums up the presentation that I brought here today, and I'd love to entertain any questions from the group about it.
Thanks, Mark. Wow, it's a great presentation with some really very nice graphics, I will say. So I'll open it up to questions from the board, from anyone in attendance, actually.
I think Casey has a question, Steve.
Casey, all right.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Thank you, Mark. It's an interesting number. 25 million square feet of non-functional turf is estimated to still exist in the service area. I'm curious as to what you guys estimate the water budget being for that 25 million square feet.
Well, we've looked at, in terms of getting to our 110 GPCD by 2037, that is one of the ways that we think that we can get on our way there, is by reducing the water budget from that turf. We usually think of it about what is it, Amos? There's a rule of thumb we have. Is it like a million square feet is like 1 GPCD or so?
760,000.
Okay, 760,000 square feet or so is about 1 GPCD for us in terms of drop and removing that. So we do feel like that non-functional turf is one of the things that we have left in the quiver of conservation. We really have, I think, changed out most of the indoor things that we can, the toilets and whatnot. And the best bang for the buck is on outdoor irrigation. But I can talk to you about that at a different time. But I don't have it off the top of my head what that water budget is.
Thank you.
Mayor Torres.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mark, I'm curious where your funding comes from for the rebates that you offer folks.
That's a great question, Mayor. Our funding comes from our ratepayers. And we have a budget of $1 million a year to give out in rebates. And we really endeavor to try to use as much of that budget as we can. But yeah, it comes from our ratepayers. We've looked into applying for some like Water Smart grants, but we don't have any of those currently going. It's all ratepayer funded.
Thanks.
I don't
Chair,
see
this is
anything.
Councilor Murray.
Yes, Councilor Murray.
Thank you. I guess I got a couple questions. Is there anything preventing you from capturing runoff when we have these monsoons rains?
Councilor Murray, yeah, there is some issues there where the state engineer has some rules about capturing runoff and how long you're allowed to hold on to runoff. That basically being to ensure that as much water gets into the Rio Grande as possible to meet compact necessities in terms of delivering water to Elephant Butte. So we've thought about in Water 2120 about the further capture of large storm events, but we do realize that if that water resource were to be brought online, there would be some changes that would be required with the Office of the State Engineer.
Thank you. So also, are you looking at the brackish water that it's essentially, I guess it's on the west side? Are you looking at how to use that to the best of your ability?
Thank you, Councilor Murray. In terms of the brackish water wells that are out on the west side of town, we have heard presentations from those folks about what they think is out there and the quality of it, but we have not really pursued it. It's something that we look at in our long-term planning, but right now it's not really in the predicted portfolio. We're trying to utilize the groundwater that we have and conjunctively manage that, but and utilize our renewable surface water and not really into the brackish business right now. I do have some, qualms about the brackish water and some of the claims that are being made about it. It's very difficult to treat. There is also a waste stream that occurs when it is treated that you got to deal with. And then, we're trying to create a system that is in balance. And I think if we're mining brackish water, I don't know if I worry about what happens when that resource is up, and then what does our community do at that time? So we haven't done that yet.
Yeah, I understand. So, and then my last question is, how do you balance attracting industry to come to the Albuquerque area versus water usage?
Thank you, Councilor Mayor. That's pretty tricky. And our Water 2120 water resources management strategy does account for growth. And so we are planning for a growing community. And sometimes, we have to think about, if a large industry that uses a bunch of water comes in, what does that mean? Usually it means like that they have to either help us out with some conservation projects that to kind of offset the water that they would be using, or we have to think about how the growth that we plan for is looking versus how we are at. Is there some available water resources? But all of our customers that aren't inside the service area right now, any expansion that has to be paid for by developers and by industry. So we don't fund expansion and larger uses on the backs of our current customers. So we'd have to work with those industries. And we were thinking about doing that real recently, and we came up with some innovative solutions for reuse that we were going to be requiring, but that ended up petering out. So it is tricky.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilor Murray. Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Vice Chair, I have a couple of questions from Board Member Wesley, who is unable to attend today.
Okay.
First, the U.S. Drought Monitor reported that central Bernalillo County has been in extreme drought every week since April 22nd. As I understand it, the Water Utility Authority, on the other hand, has not been more restrictive than drought stage 0, imposing 0 customer water use restrictions over the same period of time. Does this mismatch on perception of drought intensity make sense? If no, what should be done about it?
I do think that, when we look at the drought monitor for Bernalillo County, we do look at that data, and it represents where we go in our drought plan at the first stage. And our subsequent stages that would include, imposing water use restrictions are determined by where we're at versus where we want to be with our long-term planning of our groundwater resource and our GPCD. And I think that we have our groundwater resource there to be able to smooth out issues that we have with drought and with the lack of surface water. So we think of that kind of as our savings account. And I think if we were to start imposing restrictions on our customers based on just the drought monitor, I don't think that our customers would like that very much. And B, I don't think that would be, the best use of our water resources. And I think that sometimes dipping into your savings account is the best thing to do. And so I do think there is a mismatch on perception of drought intensity. And I really think that it's on us to educate our customers in terms of, it's been hot and it's been dry and we have the savings account and you guys should try hard to conserve. But we've also found that we get a lot further with the carrot than the stick. And I'd say our water waste fees are our least usable, least efficient parts of our conservation program. And so we're trying to get out the word and to work with our customers in a less punitive manner.
Could I follow up on that before we hear Dr. Wesley's second question? I think I understand, Mark, that instead of just the drought monitor, you use a DPCI, and I'm not sure again what I kind of missed what that is, but I think that indicator is
that's gallons per person per day.
No, DPCI was on your.
Oh, DSCI, that's the drought severity and coverage index. Yeah, that's
DSCI
monitor. Yeah.
DSCI. Yeah.
Yeah.
That probably is a better indicator of what stage of forced conservation the utility needs to impose. At least that's my perception. And I do have an issue with the reliance on that DSCI or the drought monitor in that at the federal level, we're seeing massive reductions in NOAA and National Weather Service personnel. And I'm just wondering how much that might impact Water Utility Authority planning for drought if you can't get reliable drought numbers.
That's a great comment, Stephen. That's something that that really hasn't been fully fleshed out by us yet. And I think that that's something that I'm definitely going to take from this meeting and put on my radar. So thank you.
Certainly. Other comments or questions? Oh, yes, we had a second for Dr. Wesley.
Actually, no, that was it. It was put in 2 parts, but just that was it.
All right. Are there any other questions or comments?
Yes, I have one.
Yes, go ahead.
This is Lynn Montgomery from Coronado Soil and Water and Las Acequias de Positas. I'd like to zoom out a little bit. Up here in our little domestic water system, we have 180 households that we serve. We have a standing regulation that no water will be used outside. And that's because our resource is limited. Right now, we're facing maybe cutting off the water to let our tanks fill up during the evenings. And so it's getting very serious for us. And I think that in the long term, Albuquerque is going to have similar problems because the resource is going to get limited as like the river's drying up in Albuquerque now. That means very little recharge, and you have to pump away a lot of water to satisfy the demand. And so eventually, this is going to keep building up, and we're going to be facing limited water resource that's kind of serious. And I'm just wondering if Albuquerque's considering that someday they might have to ban outside watering of any kind and put all that water back in the river. And so that's just one thing about this. And so I'm kind of skeptical that this is going to all work. And Little Placitas is like the canary in the coal mine, and what happens here is going to happen everywhere eventually. So I think you need to do a little backpedaling and really look at the situation and what can really happen. Because if you don't have enough water to supply the system, there's a certain threshold. If you don't have enough water to run the system, and that could happen, then what happens when you can't have enough water to run the treatment plant and satisfy demand, et cetera, et cetera. So that's just a comment. It's not a question.
Thanks, Lynn. Anything else? Well, before we let you go, Mark, I just want to express some gratitude for the water utility, including green stormwater infrastructure in the Water Smart Academy series. I didn't see it listed as a topic, but I know that you all have collaborated with, say, Bernalillo County and Ciudad Soil and Water and others on getting that training incorporated, which is real important because if we're going to be managing stormwater, in small increments, so to speak, high in the watershed, our maintenance personnel need to know how to manage those installations. So, thank you.
Yeah. On the small level, it is possible. The counselor was saying, he had a question about, I think the large level, but on the small scale, green stormwater is something that is very helpful in terms of reducing overall water use.
Yeah, you can water your entire lot with stormwater, and as I understand it, there's a waiver for residential stormwater capture and
right.
reuse in that state engineer policy. So, as long as you don't convert it into drinking water or toilet flushing water, just use it for irrigation. It's all good. Thank you very much again. And we'll now move to our second presentation from Hallie Burt with the Wilderness Society. She manages the Urban to Wild program in Albuquerque. So over to you, Hallie.
Hello. Thank you all so much for having me. And I feel like I'm learning so much about drought measurement. So I'm very appreciative to you all. I am here to talk about the Land and Water Conservation Fund and explain to you some changes that have happened in the last few months related to it and encourage folks to apply. So I am going to share my screen here. Great. So the Land and Water Conservation Fund is a program of the National Park Service that is a grant administered by our state Parks Department here. And it is of the interest of the Wilderness Society to support folks to apply for this because we advocate for this funding to maintain both in high amounts at the federal level and also for match grants here at the state. We want to make sure that folks who pueblos, cities, towns, counties have access to conservation funding in many ways, and this is one way that we feel like could be more tapped. So that is why we're presenting it to you all today here. Sorry, I have to get into presenter mode here. Sorry about that. Great. So again, the State Department is the one who administers this grant. There have been challenges over the last 5 to 10 years with SOA application turnaround related to capacity at the State Parks Department, but we feel confident that there have been some changes in capacity that can strengthen this program. Basically, currently what's happening is the ask is lower here in New Mexico than the amount that we have. So everyone who applies gets funding, which is good, but it still is not enough. And we're having to return some funds at the federal level, which is a challenge and presents a challenge for us as the Wilderness Society as an advocacy organization when we continue to ask for more funding to go towards conservation efforts, particularly related to conservation. And LWCF is guided by the SCORP, the state Conservation Outdoor Recreation Plan that's mandated as part of the National Park Service's administration of this grant. And so in that SCORP, it's community created here in New Mexico, and it highlights things related to outdoor education, wetlands conservation, and equitable access to the outdoors. So it's a really strong community-based document here that allows for a really broad swath of funding opportunities here. Changes that have happened in this year is that at the Roundhouse this January, we upped the LWCF match amount grant to $8 million, which is different than the state's general match grant that we have available. So basically, if you are applying for an LWCF grant this year, in the past, you've been able to ask for stateside support, but there were limits to that. I think there was around 2 million, and now there's 8 million, which means that if you apply for about a $400,000 project and your Pueblo, city, town, county doesn't have that $400,000 match, you can ask for that, basically making this project completely free to your city. And that is something that we basically want to try to spend that down as quickly as possible so that, again, we can demonstrate at this state level that investing in conservation is critical and of a priority here for folks in New Mexico. This year, we're also really trying to connect people to technical assistance. We've heard that is the biggest challenge, that these different agencies around, or different cities, towns, pueblos, and counties, they either have their hands full with other grants or they just don't know where to start on a federal grant. And that the capacity is a huge issue. So we're trying to elevate the technical assistance that does exist. Bianca and her team at MRCOG have an incredible resource of technical assistance that I was so impressed being able to talk to her about that, and I'm really excited about what that can mean for LWCF applicants in the MRCOG jurisdiction. Also, the Wilderness Society, we have either the assistance to sort of do program management or project management for the grants. And so we can pull some of those things together for the application. And if there are things like surveys or GIS work that needs to happen, if Bianca and her team aren't able to support, we have funding to support different agencies in getting to that finish line. And also the New Mexico State Parks Department team itself has new staff people and the ability to support. So we really want to simplify this as much as possible so that folks are able to access this funding. So some of the challenges here at LWCF is because it is a federal program, the turnaround is not as fast as like a Trails Plus grant. And so it's the best, we've seen it be the best used for projects that are in phases or to supplement pre-existing grants. So if you have a retaining pond that you're working on as part of like a road project, you could use LWCF to fund the conservation elements of that, to provide signage, educational signage, or just signage for the project. If you want to add a trail around that pond, if you want to, incorporate native plants. This is really an awesome opportunity to bolster existing projects that you know are going to be taking place over the next 3 to 5 years. And it also helps with that match, of course, if you're already investing into a project. Or if you have a long range parks or city planning document that included some projects related to parks, related to conservation, related to water conservation, you can apply using that, because one of the key pieces here is to demonstrate community support for a project. So that's why projects that are already underway, in some capacity, or have been outlined recently in a long range planning document are great for this. And those tend to have sort of these like 3 to 5, 7 to 10 year plans. And so this is strong funding that we think would be good to add in a long range project. And again, because of this turnaround in funding, and it has to go through MPS, we acknowledge the capacity there is changing. We're not concerned about this state. So LWCF is kind of a huge, and sorry if this is repeating things that folks already know, but land and water conservation funding has many different offshoots. There's like battleground conservation, there's indigenous species conservation, and there's a stateside supplemental. We are in really constant communication with NPS, and we don't feel like the stateside supplemental is at risk, sort of because NPS has other sort of higher priority projects that we imagine would be targeted, for a better word, first in terms of cutting. But statewide supplemental, because it is sort of lower profile, we don't feel at this point that we're asking you to apply for a grant that will see no funding. We don't want to put anyone in that position. And again, that's part of the technical assistance support is we want to make this as easy as possible for you all, knowing that, again, the turnaround is longer than some other grants, but we do really believe, because it is, again, guided by the SWRP, which is a community created document, it has a really strong possibility to demonstrate community-led conservation, these kinds of conservation projects that might begin as utility projects, but can really be bolstered to outdoor education or adding more outdoor recreation elements. And I think the Harris Zone is like a good example of a project that's really multifaceted. That would be a good candidate for something like this. And has received funding from the state and other programs in the past that I think, again, this would demonstrate support for. It would be a good example of a project that's ongoing that could be bolstered by funding like this. That's all I have. I just wanted to make sure that sort of explain what's changed and offer myself up for questions. Bianca recommended that I speak at this Water Resources Board meeting for that sort of element of like, you are all involved in really long-term projects and really important conservation projects that, as has been mentioned, like the issue of funding is coming up. And if we can sort of connect these projects to elements outlined in the SCORP, then I think we have really great success of securing funding over time. So I'm open for questions or comments.
Great. Thank you, Holly. Councilor Murray just asked in the chat if there is a website that can be accessed.
Yes.
For the Land and Water Conservation Fund.
Yes, and so the funding, the application itself opens in September. So we're hoping I'm sort of on this, trying to get folks excited about it now, so that when September does roll around, that we are able to support people in a smooth application process. The 2025 application, I don't believe is live there, but you can see the 2024 application. And there's also line by line guidance for the application that we're updating to make it more clear, but that exists as well.
Thank you very much. Other questions or comments for Holly? Thank you for reminding us of the Land and Water Conservation Fund availability. And I will, from my own agency, we did apply for Land and Water Conservation Fund money to do improvements at the Candelaria Nature Preserve that we co-manage with the city of Albuquerque, and got a very nice chunk of change to do a lot of great work toward converting that old alfalfa farm into wildlife refuge, so to speak. But I noticed that you said the turnaround time is 1.5 to 3 years, and I will validate that, Hallie, because it took so long that when we got notification that we were awarded, I, who had written the grant, had completely forgotten that we even applied for it because it's a very long turnaround.
And it's shortening all the time. I mean, I think there was just a lot of state agencies are growing in New Mexico to serve our growing population and challenges, especially related to conservation. And so I think there was just we know there was a little bit of a gap in staffing on this project. And that's when we saw money being returned at the federal level, just because it wasn't being turned around quickly enough. But again, it's like the Wilderness Society has a lot of faith in our state's ability to apply for really strong projects. And we want to see that amount grow over time. We want this to be a competitive process because we know there is so much thoughtful conservation work, particularly coming from this jurisdiction, MRCOG counties that MRCOG is part of. And we just want to demonstrate. And we think that really it's like, I keep using a braid visual, but it's like, if we can support through technical assistance, because also like Senator Heinrichs has said, because he supports land and water conservation, he's like, I'm going to be at all those ribbon cuttings. So we have a project in Socorro that was LWCF funded that should be opening soon. And we're going to get electeds there. We're going to demonstrate like New Mexico is leading the way on creative conservation projects. Our elected officials are behind us. We want to provide, social media support, community engagement support to these projects because we really, really believe that this funding can be critical to push a lot of those projects over the edge. And with the combination of land and water conservation funding, Trails Plus, and the outdoor equity funds, there is so much opportunity and for those who don't know, the outdoor equity fund funds groups that take young people outdoors, right? So like, we know that another challenge beyond capacity is like the programming of these spaces. We built this beautiful trail. How do we get people on it? That's where these OEF applicants come in beautifully, right? Like we can have Go Unlimited, which does so much outdoor programming for folks with disabilities, be involved in guiding how an ADA trail might be created that will go around a retention pond, including the signage, having the signage be by like it's all this funding can come together so that our cities and counties and pueblos don't have to be footing that bill. Because we know that like the city of Albuquerque is one of the few cities that has that Go Bond funding available to match these funds. And so we just want to make it as easy as possible. We want to really use the full force of conservation funding that we have available to us. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. It's a great source of funding, and it's always a shame to see available funding go back, and not be utilized. So, any other comments or questions for Hallie regarding Land and Water Conservation Fund or the Wilderness Alliance, Wilderness Society, or the Urban to Wild program? All great things.
Mr. Chair, this is Councilor Murray.
Yes.
So is there a time limit on these grants that we can apply for? I mean, do you have to spend that money within a specified amount of time?
That's a great question. I think that because of the longer but shortening timeline of the grant, because there's like, it's approved by X, it's approved by that, we get MOUs in place, we open the PO, and it's managed by state parks. I do not believe that they are super strict on it needs to be completed by X. And again, I think we've talked about the phasing element of projects is a perfect fit for this. So I would say my best guess is no, but if there is, I feel like it is a very comfortable length. So you don't feel like you're having to spend it down within a year. And that's how it's different from other federal grants. Because again, the reporting is also managed through our state parks department, which goes a little easier on folks than our federal partners do in grant management. But thank you so much for your question, Counselor.
Thank you.
All right, I don't see any virtual hands raised or let's see, any other questions before we move on? Hallie, thank you for your presentation. Very good stuff. Our next tab is tab 8, board discussion and next steps. And Councilor Murray, you dropped a comment in the chat that I'm like you to expand on if you are willing regarding recruitment of members to attend these meetings.
Well, my only comment was, and I meant to capture this at the beginning, but my internet connection kind of broke up a little bit. I think we need to encourage those who do not participate in this, and we need to encourage them to attend these meetings because water issues are just going to be more important. Obviously, we got the state regulations coming out in a few years. And anyway, I'm just trying to encourage those who don't attend. They ought to, because there's good information here and we need to get their participation.
Yeah, you know, and during my tenure as chair, and I'll turn to Bianca to confirm this, but it seems like we did send a similar letter at one point, stressing the importance of the Water Resources Board and water resources management in general. And it resulted, I think, in a slight increase in attendance at our meetings. But again, I agree with you that I mean, as they say, water is life. You don't have water, you can't support your population unless you have adequate water. So I'm 100% on board with you, and I see that you unmuted, so you seem to have a response, Councilor Murray.
Well, the only other thought I had was maybe both these sets of slides ought to be sent to these non-participants, maybe just to give them an indication of what we saw today and the importance of attending these meetings.
Sounds like a great idea, along with I don't know what you would call it, a very encouraging letter from the chair, from Chair Olivas to participate in these meetings, because we do discuss extremely important issues, and attendance should be of value to all of these organizations and agencies that are in charge of water resource management. So thank you for that comment. And Bianca, have I thrown you under the bus here, promising to write that letter, or?
No, I'm happy to work with Chair Olivas on some type of letter about the importance of participating in this board. You are right, Vice Chair Glass. We did draft a letter, I think it was about a year ago, that we distributed, and we did see an increase in participation. I think we've seen Mr. Apodaca from Rio Communities joined us, I think, as a result of that letter. And a few other people. So I do appreciate the participation from people who maybe, weren't aware of this board and what we do. So we will continue to work on that, Councilor Murray. I do have just one board member-ish has a video to share about is it conservation at MRGCD, is that correct?
It is, Vice Chair, and apologies, I probably should have said something when we were approving the agenda and it skipped my mind. If the board would prefer that MRGCD simply attend the September 3rd meeting with a presentation to cover our conservation activities this year, I'm happy to do that as well. But I do have a few talking points and a quick video that showcases some of our stuff if folks have time and are interested today.
Well, we certainly do have the time. We're only at 11:10 and we're scheduled for 2 hours. So I guess as a member of the board, you certainly have the ability to make a board comment, which could be several comments and a video. On the other hand, we're always looking for topics presenters for our meetings. So what is the preference of the board here? Would you like to proceed with the MRGCD talking points and video now, or wait until September? Anybody have an opinion?
Mr. Chair, this is Councilor Murray. I think waiting to September would be good so we can get it on the agenda.
Okay, yeah, that's certainly valid. All right, so Casey, let's do that. Let's put you on the September agenda, and at least we'll have, and then we'll find another presenter, hopefully, to fill out our agenda for September. Is that acceptable?
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair.
Thank you. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of our agenda for today. And thank you all for attending. Those that participate, as Councilor Murray has so eloquently pointed out, it's very important for agencies in the MRCOG region to be aware of and participate in this board. So let's hope for larger attendance in September. My thought is that with an MRGCD presentation on the agenda, we'll get all kinds of people showing up. So great. Any last notes? Hearing none, we'll adjourn at 11:12. Have another 48 minutes added to our day. So thank you for being here, and we'll see you in September.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.